Hi everyone, what the hell, Texas? Here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Halsey record, If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. This is a brand new LP from pop artist Halsey, their fourth studio album to date, which goes in a surprising and kind of edgy new direction. Now, admittedly, I have not been a huge Halsey fan up until this point. The appeal of their kind of derivative 2015 debut pretty much escaped me. However, I did kind of appreciate the riskier pockets of the Manic record that dropped last year. But the adventure does not stop there. In a crossover to end all crossovers, Halsey has pulled none other than Mr. Nine Inch Nails himself, Trent Reznor, as well as Atticus Ross, as producers of this new record. Which I think is quite a feat in and of itself. It's not often that Trent goes out of his way to produce the album of a pop artist, much less anybody. But I don't know, maybe he's not asked to do so that often. Either way, I don't think he would involve himself in a record or with an artist that he didn't believe in. Plus, I don't think Halsey would call on Reznor and Ross if they didn't know what they were getting into. Even if this doesn't pan out to be Halsey's most commercially successful album yet, I think this will be read by hardcore fans as a really exciting shift with a lot of very personal and tragic lyrics. And of course, I don't seek to devalue any of those perspectives. They're certainly valid, but I do have my criticisms with this project, and in many ways, I think it just doesn't go far enough. First, we have the opening track, The Tradition, which kicks off with these sinister Trent Reznor style pianos along with Lana Del Rey-esque croons from Halsey. The whole thing kind of sounds like the soundtrack to a goth ballroom social, and I am slightly over it. But the chorus does sound relatively sick, and I do like the villainous angle of the lyrics. Take what you please, don't give a damn, ask for forgiveness and not for permission. Personally, I read this track as a dark and very sharp commentary on the way womanhood and femininity can be commodified and treated as disposable in society in general, but especially in popular media. And this track also speaks to this really all is lost type energy that is super present on numerous tracks here. Now, even though I wish this record started off with a bang, I guess a curious opener will do. But does the following Bells in Santa Fe pick up the pace? Not really. This is kind of one of the bigger snoozers on the project, with Halsey dramatically emoting over some gently pulsating ambient electronics. It's not awful, but the whole thing is pretty one-dimensional, little in the way of progression on this outside of the really thick wall of synthesizers that rush through in the end. Easier Than Lying, though, is this record's first true rocker. It has this downward spiral-esque backing beat, driving drums, distorted bass, eventually launching off into the heaviest and noisiest layers of distortion on the entire record. And Halsey actually lights up the chorus on this one with a really aggressive performance. I kind of see it as like the industrial pop rock version of Kelly Clarkson's Since You've Been Gone. The song has a beautifully eerie chorus that's worth checking out too, and I read the lyrics on this track as being very much in line with that energy of I'm being portrayed as a villain, so I'm going to become the villain. Then the track Lilith might be the freshest sounding song that Reznor, Atticus, and Halsey pulled together here. The timbre of the drums and bass are pure 90s Nine Inch Nails all the way, but there's something about their groove and the chord progression that has almost like an R&B flavor to it, which is very much in Halsey's wheelhouse. It's a really novel direction and track. The only issue that I have with it is that it ends a little too abruptly. Girl Is a Gun for me was another highlight, with an exciting change of pace with its bustling post-industrial electronic beats. Honestly, it feels a little like something that would have occurred within that side project How to Destroy Angels that Reznor was doing for a little bit, but kind of better. It's a weird clash of vibes that's genuinely intriguing, and while it is odd, at least for me, it's kind of the draw to the song too. The whole thing sounds so in sync yet also at war with itself, and I feel this same push and pull going on in the lyrics as Halsey reflects on femininity, portraying more of a danger or a volatility to it. There's a large contrast going on in the midst of the mid-paced rocker. You asked for this as well, but but maybe the separation on this one is too great. Halsey's vocals sit on top of a roaring mix this time around in a way where they don't quite sink into the sounds that they're singing along with. They're kind of tacked on in an awkward way. The whole thing doesn't so much feel like a collaboration as much as maybe a random SoundCloud mashup you could stumble across of this chopped up industrial rock instrumental and some top 40 vocal. Darling is a sudden folk cut in the middle of the record with really fluid fingerpick guitars brought by none other than Lindsey Buckingham of Fleetwood Mac fame. What? Yeah, and while I'm not blown away by the tune, I do think it has kind of a landslide vibe to it, and I do enjoy some of the clever lyrics about Halsey's mental state. Really can't remember where I left my spine, carrying my body in a bag for dimes, hidden in the pages of the New York Times at home. Maybe I'll be better if I take my meds. Ain't a doubleheader if you lose your head. But as intriguing as the album has been so far, it does trail off a little bit in the second half. The tracks 1121 as well as Whispers see Halsey singing over these really theatrical and cinematic beds of pianos and post-industrial electronics. The vocals are too light and frail and airy to really bolster that menacing and chilling vibe it all seems to be implying. I guess I'll say I appreciate these songs more for what they say than how they sound. The track Honey is not a bad cut though. It is another driving rocker with kind of a post-punk flair to it. Instrumentally, it's not as edgy as some of the other spots here, which is fine. It's kind of a desire anthem that honestly I wouldn't mind hearing on the radio, even if some of the lyrics are a little thirsty. Then with I'm Not a Woman, I'm a God, that How to Destroy Angels vibe comes back with another banger. Pulsating beat, bright, loud, ringing analog synthesizers, Halsey slips so well into the chorus, I'm not a woman, I'm a god. If these three came together again and worked on more music like this, I would not mind that. But then following this, we have my least favorite track on the LP, The Lighthouse, which is a total mess, and that's putting it lightly, because the instrumental is so awful. It's this loose, distorted industrial rock without any real appeal on the musicality side. The performance is terrible. Halsey on top of it is trying to do this like sultry vocal performance that I don't think is quite working, though I don't really attribute my issues with the song to them, really. I just think it's a weak foundation to put anything on, honestly. It's just not a good backing track. The closing track I thought ran a little bland and maybe a little uneventful, but I could see what Halsey was going for here, lyrically anyway, as it's kind of a tender love song to, I think, cool the heat of the previous 40 minutes, which has very much been like the attitude of, let's burn it all down, which was entertaining for the most part, but this track is maybe more of an honest reflection of their day-to-day mentality when it comes to being a partner and being a mother. So look, in my opinion, I think there are some great tracks here. I think this LP features some of Halsey's best work ever. Occasionally the songs feel a little bland, a little underwritten. Sometimes the energy between Halsey, Ross, and Reznor comes off a little mismatched. And as I said toward the start of this review, also, there are moments where it feels like it's not going far enough, it's not bold enough. But still, I kind of like it, or mostly think it's fine. This is certainly more than I ever thought I would be into a Halsey record, so that's certainly something I think. I'm feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this one. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Halsey, forever.